Hello, hello. Hi, everyone. Hi, Kim.
Hello, Miss Veronica. Hello,
Welcome
everyone.
to welcome to our Innergetics podcast. We are so excited to have you join in our contemplation, our conversation, our fun play as we explore and expand upon things that we've been noticing, feeling, journeys we've gone on internally. I can be found as Veronica Rose, Roze, on Instagram. And Kim, where can folks find you?
You can find me on Facebook as Kim Coleman with this face. For those who can't see, then you can find me also on growingbeyond.com. Yeah,
Yay!
and
Amazing.
Instagram, but I'm not really using Instagram much. But yeah, cool.
Awesome. And thank you, everyone who's listening. We truly believe that you are a contribution to whatever comes forth. So
Mm,
thank you for listening. And if you would love to subscribe, we would really love that, or share with your friends and family.
thanks.
Awesome. So,
And
Kim,
yeah,
we were
you can
thinking of.
find us. Yeah, you can find us where? YouTube, all the different places,
Mhm.
Spotify, all that. Cool. Yeah. So I've just been noticing, and so I want to see what you think of this, Veronica, because I love when, you have a very different perspective than I do, and that's what makes this great is we don't sit there and just kind of, agree with each other and all that kind of stuff, because life is like that. We're going to have people in our lives that may get what you're saying at times and may not, right? So yeah, so
Yep.
so for me, I'm really noticing and aware of where I'm doing it myself, because that's what it is, right? When we see it out there, uh, meaning in our lives and in the world, I always like to say, okay, now I'm going to notice where I'm being that and doing that, and where I'm coming from that place. And so, because for me, uh, it is that growth and evolution over a lifetime, which is Melanie Ann Layer's words. I always give credit where credit's due. And so, yeah, so for me, it is, if I want to continue to grow and expand, then it's about being aware of where I'm functioning from. And that's what this whole thing is for me. What about you?
100%. Yeah. It's like, okay, what can I take from this? And what is this awareness awakening within me that is ready to be explored, examined, changed, alchemized?
Alchemized. I love that word. Yeah, and
Mm.
and so I've experienced so much of this thing of accountability. And so that's what I thought that we could talk about today is accountability. And what does that word even mean? I didn't look it up in the dictionary or anything. However, what does that word even mean? Accountability. Am I willing to take self responsibility for my actions, for my words? And by being accountable, if it entails a I'm sorry, am I willing? It's amazing to me how many people have actually said to me they, they can't say I'm sorry. What? And so maybe they aren't. So accountability to me is where I am so empowered knowing that no matter what, I'm doing my best, you're doing your best, they're doing their best, whatever's doing their best. And I know that the universe has my back. And so if I have a moment where maybe I've reacted, maybe not in that moment, I'll say I'm sorry. And maybe it is in that moment I say I'm sorry. But can I have the self awareness to apologize, to be accountable, to hold myself accountable, but also to let somebody know, I'm sorry, and I don't have to go into the story, but it could be as simple as, I'm so sorry that I reacted there. Like sometimes, a lot of times, my partner Ken is being my partner Ken. He's doing his things, right? And he'll do something, and it might be something that I'll just notice, and I don't say a word. I don't have to say a word. It's just like, Ken's just being Ken, right? Ken is just being Ken. And then there might be something else that in a moment Ken is being Ken. And I'm not as much in allowance of it, meaning I might react. And that's just me being human having a moment. But is it okay? Can I later or in that moment say, geez, I apologize for reacting. I'm sorry that I said that. When those moments happen, I feel so good about owning that I had a moment, right? That it wasn't about anything other than I had a moment, right? And it feels really good to be able to stand there strong enough, knowing who I am, and to be accountable for what I just said. Or maybe it was what I said yesterday or whatever. And there's something about freeing up the energy field when I do that. Now there's a piece of guilt if that was there, or a piece of whatever that I made that mean about myself later or made it mean about him. Now that it's a part of the letting go. It's the part of letting go for me of just by saying I'm sorry. And it's really interesting. I'll shut up for a minute because I could go on about this one because so
You're passionate.
I'm passionate.
Yeah, it's an interesting the whole I'm sorry is interesting because it doesn't land for everyone, right? Like
No.
and I know that for some, like in childhood, you're fighting with your siblings or with friends and your parents say nothing, you're sorry, I'm sorry, and it doesn't really mean anything. You're just doing it because your parents told you to. And so it's been coded in a funny way for some people. I know my husband doesn't believe in saying I'm sorry. And I'm completely okay with that, right? But that's just how I operate, is to say I'm sorry. But he's like, I'm sorry is just words. Like my actions should mean more than the words that come out of my mouth. And so I, have full acceptance of him not embracing that courtesy of I'm sorry, and allowing him to allowing him to change behavior or to show me in different ways. I don't need the I'm sorry, but it is interesting, right? Because I'm somebody who's always been like I'm sorry, like anytime I've come to a realization that I've behaved differently than I would like to. That's just how I'm wired. But it doesn't work for everyone, and so I think it's a really
No.
interesting awareness. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that because I see that, yes, you're right. The words I'm sorry have kind of been forced on people, and it's verbal diarrhea for
Mhm.
a lot of people, right? And so it's not coming from an authentic place of, wow, I didn't mean to, whatever, right? And I know a lot of people who think that by saying I'm sorry, it means that they've done something wrong. And it's not. What if it's not? And if that's what it is for somebody, that's fine. And accountability is again being whatever it is for you, right? So recently, we had this big 90th birthday party from my mom, and she lives quite far away, like about an hour. And then the party that was being hosted for her was going to be about another 40 minutes from there, kind of like a V shape. I probably got the timing messed up, but doesn't matter. Get to the point. So we have this Coleman family page, and it was like somebody put, "Who's going to pick up mom?" And I've kind of taken on the role. Nobody assigned it to me. I've taken on the role of being like her CEO of her life. And so I thought I'm going to wait and see if somebody that lives closer will pick her up and take her to the party. Nobody did. Nobody did. Nobody did. And I'm like, okay. And so then one of my sisters put on there, well, I can't do it. So me and my sister, we tag team. We're amazing together. We help to look after mom. I do things that she can't do. She does things that I don't do. And so together it's amazing. We've got this crazy, amazing team together. And we often say to each other, I'm so happy that we're doing this together because I wouldn't want to do it all by myself. So like she goes and does any shopping that mom might need and stuff like that. I do all the paperwork, all the documents, all the things. Uh, so anyway, so she posted on there that no, she couldn't do it because she had to do something with her dogs. And I'm like, oh God. So I ended up putting on there, okay, I guess I'm gonna have to do it, but I can't take her home because I'm going to have to leave early to work to do some computer stuff. And so that was fine. So Ken and I organized our morning to go and pick mom up and take her to the thing. Anyway, then my sister last minute kind of changes her mind and says, no, I can pick her up. You can take her home. And I was like, no, I actually can't take her home now. And we already decided how this was going to work. And I thought, I'm not going to do this for this message. I'm going to do this. Right. So I called
Pick
her
up the
and I
phone.
said, yeah, I called her and I said, oh, yeah, sorry, I forget. People who are listening can't see what I'm, yeah. So I called her and I said, hey, I just want to let you know why I can't. I said, hey, sissy. I said, no, I said, I can't take her home. And before I even basically finished the sentence, she said, all right, Kim. And she hung up on me. She just hung up on me. And okay, and I was like, wow, what just happened there? And so I thought, did her phone go dead? Right? And so yeah, so that really it hurt. It did. I had hurt feelings about that. I was like, wow, I was kind of shocked about that, and yeah, I let myself be hurt by that. And because we've had each other's back and all the things. And so I texted her and I said, hey, sissy, I said, did your phone drop? What happened? And she said, no, I didn't want a confrontation. And I said, I was just going to share with you why I couldn't take her home at the end of the night. And Ken and I, there wasn't going to be a confrontation to me. And so anyway, that was it. There was no, okay, I'm sorry. There was no accountability on her part. There was nothing like that, right? And she, some people, like you said, they don't do I'm sorry. My grandbaby, he won't say I'm sorry to people. And I said to him, I said, you know what? I said, I get it. And you don't want to say it if it's not authentic. And if you're not sorry, don't say it. I said, however, if you hurt somebody by your actions, is it possible to say I'm sorry because you didn't mean to hurt that person? That's all, right?
Mhm.
I did this thing. I'm sorry you got hurt in the meantime or during it. And yeah, so it's about accountability for me. I
Yeah.
see people on social media, the pendulum has so swung from one extreme to the other. I am so happy people have found their voice. I am. That's great because for years we didn't, right? People are speaking their truth, all the different things. I think that's great. I just find it's interesting how people are then, I'm often seeing, and maybe you're not seeing it, but I'm seeing where people are saying, I found my voice, I'm speaking my truth, and I'm not holding back, and everybody's saying, yay, cheerleading, and I'm fine with that. I think that's great. However, then I'm also seeing where they'll say something that's really hateful or mean, and I'm like, is that necessary? Like, is that actually, are people being accountable for what they're saying to other people and how they're saying it to other people and how they're saying it to themselves? Like when
Mm,
I react to something Ken has said or done, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good for me. However, when I can then say, ah, geez, sorry, I didn't mean to react like that, but I did. Then I feel better about it and he feels better about it. However, it does have to be authentic. It really does
it
for
does.
me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it does.
and otherwise it is just verbal diarrhea. And like you said, coming from that programming of say you're sorry, right? And so it's like a forced thing. But yeah, that's all.
Yeah, because we notice it in my daughter too, who's 7 years old, and I've like really taught her to say I'm sorry, so she says it all the time, and I do like she does say it with genuineness, but then she'll continue with the same behavior because sometimes the behavior is not conscious, right? And so my husband gets really upset with her, like there's no point in saying I'm sorry when you continue with the same behavior. Like for him, it's really about
I
the
love
change in
that.
behavior versus the words, but it's like it's an interesting dynamic, especially when it comes to children, because it's like, well, do I say I'm sorry, do I have to change my, like it's like all of it. And so what I keep saying to her is like, I'm sorry is the first step, right? Like that's the first step, but then it's the changing the behavior. Like this I'm sorry doesn't mean anything if the behavior doesn't change afterwards. But the other thing that I've really been trying my best to really ingrain in her is, and again, because obviously with children, like their emotions and their logic is it's very separate, right? It's not integrated until you're like 25 or something in your brain. And so they just like behave, they're angry, and then they're just like there's no logic to control the emotions, and so they just react. And so I've really, for the last couple of years, I've really been, I say to her over and over again, like, you can be angry and still be kind. You can be angry and still be kind, right? Like they're two very separate
I
things. And
love that.
I think that's something that sometimes adults need to learn too, right? Like there's the emotion that requires processing and needs to be processing, and then there's your behavior in response. And sometimes, to your point, it's happening, at the same time, and we don't have an opportunity to consciously stop the response or the behavior or the words that are coming out, but then we do it upon reflection. And also sometimes, when we learn emotional mastery, when we learn how to navigate our emotions and find the right avenue for us to express the emotions, then we can have the emotions expressed in one way, and we can really be conscious about, okay, like what is the outcome I want from this situation or from this person or from, and then really think about, well, what will get me to that outcome if it's a bigger thing, right? So really, I'm really trying to ingrain that in her. Like there's your anger, and then there's kindness, and you can have both at the same time. But
I
it
love
takes
that.
time.
Oh, it
It takes
does.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? To your point about the verbal diarrhea, I know those are my words, but of the programming of saying you're sorry when you don't mean it, that again is, you know, don't say it if you don't mean it,
Mm-hmm.
right? What's going on the inside? If you feel good that you just took a strip off somebody, then that's cool. Then that might not be the person you're going to say I'm sorry to, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, and sometimes, sometimes that could be whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, definitely being authentic and accountability means to yourself as well,
For sure. Yeah.
right? And on the other side of the I'm sorry thing, so it could be a tool as well, right? If it makes me feel better and it makes him feel better, cool. Boom. If it's authentic, as long as it's authentic. However, then there's people, kind of like what you said with your daughter. There's, she's still learning this. She's so lucky to have you. Where, I knew this one lady, love her to pieces. If I walked into her, she would say, I'm sorry, almost as I'm sorry for being alive. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it was taken to the other extreme for her. It was the other extreme for her. And literally, like, if it rained, if it was something that had nothing to do with her, she would say, I'm sorry. And what was really interesting is she meant it. It was it was literally some type of program that she bought into hook, line, and sinker. And like I said, I could probably spill coffee on her or something on her, and she would apologize because to her she was in the way. And I started bringing it to her awareness and saying, "Hey, are you noticing that you're doing that?" She goes, "Oh, you're right." And she it was such a program that she kept doing it. I know you got to go in a minute. And she kept doing it and kept doing it and kept doing it. She said, "Geez, I can't seem to break this habit." And I said, "Okay, can I help?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "Okay, cool." So then we would be out and whatever, and to bring her to more awareness that she was doing it. What I would say when she would say, "Oh, oh, oh, I'm so sorry," I'd say, "Are you farting again?" and and so and that would make her, or that would create this place where, oh my god, I don't ever want Kim to say that in public again. And so now she became super aware of it before she said it, and then she stopped.
Hmm.
She
Interesting.
totally stopped because I would say, "Are you farting again?" And I would say her name, "Are you farting again?" And it would be like a playful thing, and we would
Mhm.
giggle, so it wasn't like, anything cruel and unusual punishment, and we would giggle about
Yeah.
it. But every time it would bring her to the awareness of, oh, geez, right? It was just this, just like someone blinks, she would say, "I'm sorry,"
Hmm.
right?
It's so true. And that's a very Canadian thing too, right? Eh?
Oh my God. Oh my God. But yeah, it sure is.
Yeah.
So anyway, a takeaway from this could be, what's authentic for you? And are you willing to apologize in whatever words work for you, if and when it's appropriate? And that is just
Hmm.
literally, it's taking responsibility. It's being responsibility for our actions, for our words, and mindful of delivery, and not hurting somebody on purpose. And if we have
Hmm.
hurt somebody on purpose and we didn't mean to, is it okay to have accountability and say, "Hey, listen, I was, having a moment."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, full acceptance for others who process it differently, right? Like I shared with my husband, he's not into the I'm sorries, and I have full
Yeah,
allowance for him to have his own path and journey with that. I don't expect him to fit into
exactly.
my box. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, speaking of accountability, I want to apologize to you for something.
What? What?
Remember when we were talking with one of our team members a few days ago, and I was like, "Yeah, I haven't got the write up done for the last podcast because Veronica didn't have it up when I was ready, and then she had it up and I wasn't ready." Right?
It's all good.
Right? I got off and I was like, "Oh, for God's sake!" It's like, all right, this would be right. And so it's a perfect moment for me to say I take full responsibility for that. Yes, I was kind of like, "Yep, Veronica wasn't ready when I was, then I wasn't ready when she was," and so yeah, accountability, babe.
Oh, you're sweet. Thank you. I receive it.
Because I was aware right away when I said it that I was like, "Ooh, that was awkward." That's the thing, though, energetics,
Yeah.
right? I was aware of how
Hmm.
I felt, right? And so when I
Yeah.
can take accountability for that, man, it frees me up, right? I won't have to be in the
Yeah.
shower and think, "Oh, geez, I said that thing to Veronica. What a piece of poop I am," right? And so,
Although
yeah,
you're
here
welcome to
you
think of
go.
me in the shower anytime you want, but
Ooh la 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 la. I love it.
well, Thank you, Kim, and thank you for everyone listening. Always love to hear your thoughts, your feedback, any takeaways, ahas, or implementation, embodiment. It's super fun to interact with you. So please feel free to share in any of the places. So much love for you, Kim, and so
Awesome.
much love for everyone listening. Until next time.
Yay. Ooh la la, everyone. Bye for now.
Bye.